My wealthy wife smirked and said, "Go on then, leave. I give you a week." I set my keys on the counter and walked out without a word. By morning, her father was yelling into the phone. The bank had just called. "What did you do?" he snapped. She had always believed I was nothing without her family's name. "My name is Raymond Pfizer. I'm 44 years old, and this is the story of how I discovered that the woman I married never truly knew who I was. I met Adriana Cunningham 15 years ago at a charity auction. She was 25, stunning, posing beside a Monet as if she understood every brushstroke. I was 29, managing a modest investment portfolio, foolish enough to confuse confidence with competence. Her father, Theodore Cunningham, owned one of the biggest investment firms in the Northeast. When we got engaged, he said something I will never forget. "Son, I need someone who understands numbers. Adriana has taste, but taste doesn't build empires." So I built it. For 14 years, I overhauled Theodore's entire operation. I restructured divisions, created trusts, put protective mechanisms in place, and turned a regional firm into a national powerhouse. I did it quietly, the way you do when you marry into old money. I let Adriana curate art collections, sit on gallery boards, and take credit for charity projects that I had funded and structured. I told myself it didn't matter who received the applause, but it always matters. That night, we were in the penthouse overlooking Boston. Adriana had just returned from some gala, barefoot on the marble floor, a wine glass dangling from her fingers like a stage prop. I was at the kitchen island, reviewing trust documents. "Still playing with spreadsheets?" she asked, bored. "These spreadsheets pay for that wine," I replied. She laughed, not with me, at me. "Raymond, sweetheart, everything here is mine. The wine, the view, the air you breathe. My father built this." Something cold settled in my chest. "Your father built the name," I said carefully. "I built the structure that keeps it standing." "Then go ahead," she said, smirking. "Leave. I give you a week without me. You'll come crawling back when you realize you're nothing without this family." I stared at her. She genuinely believed it, that I was decorative, useful, but ultimately replaceable. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my keys: penthouse, car, private elevator. I placed them on the marble counter one by one. "What are you doing?" Adriana asked. "You told me to leave," I said quietly. "So I'm leaving." I took my coat and walked to the door. "Fine, go," she called after me. "Jeff will change the locks in the morning anyway." I didn't answer. The door closed behind me with a soft click. I took the stairs all 42 floors down because I needed time to think. In the lobby, I took out my phone. I sent 3 messages to 3 different attorneys, 1 word each: execute. Then I got into a car I'd bought months earlier under a corporate LLC she didn't know existed. I didn't head to a hotel. I went to my other office, the separate one, where I had spent 2 years preparing for this possibility. I sat at my desk and watched as automated systems began rerouting access across 17 different accounts. Nothing illegal, just a careful dismantling of the structure I had created. By 3 a.m., Theodore's emergency credit line was frozen. By 4, Adriana's gallery fund was flagged for review. By 5, control of the trust that paid for the penthouse reverted back to me. I leaned back and closed my eyes. Somewhere across the city, Adriana was sleeping, convinced she had won. By morning, everyone would know otherwise. The sun hadn't fully risen when Theodore Cunningham's phone started lighting up. I knew because I had programmed the alerts to cascade in a specific sequence, timed to maximize confusion. First the credit facility, then operational accounts, then trust protocols. Each one triggering automated notifications to different departments, different people, different sources of panic. I was in my office with a black coffee, watching the city wake up, when my phone buzzed. "Theodore." I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again, and again. On the 4th call, I picked up. "Raymond, what the hell is going on?" Theodore's voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the panic underneath. "Good morning, Theodore," I said evenly. "Don't good morning me. I just got a call from First Harbor saying the backup credit line is frozen. They're saying there's a custodial authorization issue." "That's correct," I replied. Silence. Then, "Explain." "I withdrew my custodial guarantees last night. The credit line was structured under my authorization as managing trustee. Without that authorization, the facility can't process new draws." Raymond, this isn't funny. We have payroll clearing tomorrow. Payroll will clear, I said. Operational accounts are separate, but discretionary credit access has been suspended pending a restructure. I could hear him breathing, trying to compute. Why would you do this? Your daughter told me to leave, so I did. And when I left, I took my authorizations with me. You can't just... He stopped because he remembered. He knew exactly what I was allowed to do. He'd signed the paperwork himself years ago, when he needed someone he could trust to hold the keys. Before he could answer, I heard another voice in the background. Adriana. Sharp, confused. What do you mean the bank called? It's 7 a.m. Theodore covered the phone, but I could still catch fragments. The bank just called. Your husband pulled his guarantees. What does that even mean? Adriana demanded. Theodore came back on the line. Raymond, where are you? Does it matter? We need to talk, in person, today. I don't think so, I said. I gave Adriana what she wanted, space. A week, I believe she said. Let's see how the week goes. Raymond, listen to me. I hung up. 30 seconds later, my phone rang again. Adriana, I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. What did you do? She hissed the moment I answered. Good morning, Adriana, I said pleasantly. Don't play games with me. My father just said you froze accounts. What accounts? What are you talking about? I didn't freeze anything, I corrected her. I simply removed my authorizations from the systems, the ones I built. Turns out when you tell the architect to leave, the building gets a little unstable. You're insane, she spat. No, I said. I'm precise. There's a difference. And if you think this is going to make you watch me beg to come back, I don't want you to beg, I cut in. That's not what this is about. I want you to finally understand something you've never bothered to learn. Everything you thought was yours, I built it. The trust structures, the credit facilities, the investment protocols. Every piece of it runs on systems I designed, with my name as the failsafe. And last night, I pulled that failsafe. You can't do this, she snapped, her voice rising, panic starting to seep through the anger. I already did, I said. Enjoy your week, Adriana. I ended the call and switched off my phone. Outside my window, Boston was waking up. People heading to work, chasing trains, grabbing coffee. Normal lives. Somewhere across the city, in a penthouse that no longer recognized her access codes, my wife was beginning to realize she'd made a catastrophic miscalculation, and her father was scrambling to figure out just how deep the damage went. By noon, Adriana's world had shrunk to a string of declined transactions and unanswered calls. She sat in the penthouse living room, laptop open, staring at error messages she didn't understand. Her personal assistant had gone silent. Her stylist canceled their appointment. Even her car service replied that her account needed to be updated. That was when her best friend Monica showed up uninvited. Monica had been Adriana's roommate at Yale, her maid of honor, the person she called after every gallery opening and charity gala. For 20 years, Adriana believed they shared everything. I heard, Monica said, dropping onto the white leather sofa without waiting to be asked. Heard what? Adriana snapped, eyes still glued to her laptop. That Raymond left, that things are falling apart. Adriana's head shot up. How did you? He told me, Monica said simply. The air seemed to vanish from the room. What do you mean, he told you? Adriana's voice turned dangerously quiet. Monica took out her phone, scrolled a moment, then held the screen out. Dozens of text messages, her name at the top, Raymond's replies beneath. A conversation that had been going on for months. Before you lose it, Monica said calmly, it's not what you think. We weren't having an affair. Raymond reached out to me 6 months ago because he was worried about you, about him, about what you've turned into. Adriana stared at the screen, reading fragments of a life she hadn't even known existed. You've been talking to my husband behind my back, she managed, the words strangled. I've been watching you destroy him for years, Monica corrected. Every dinner party where you mocked his work, every gala where you introduced him as the finance guy, like he was your bookkeeper. Every time you rolled your eyes when he tried to explain what he actually does. That's not, Adriana started. It is, Monica cut in. And 3 months ago, when you told me you were thinking of divorcing him and taking everything, I told Raymond. I told him you were planning to blindside him with papers and a legal team your father was putting together. Adriana felt like the floor had dropped away beneath her. Why would you do that? She whispered. Because I've known you since we were 19, Adriana, Monica said quietly, and I've watched you become someone I don't recognize, someone cruel. Raymond didn't deserve what you were planning to do to him. Monica rose, smoothing her skirt. He called me last night after he left, asked me to come check on you, to make sure you were safe. After everything you've done, he was still worried about you. That's the kind of man he is, and you threw him away like he was nothing. Get out, Adriana said, her voice shaking. I'm going, Monica replied. She paused at the door. But you should know something. When you go looking for support, when you start calling all those friends you think you have, you're going to find out how many of them respected Raymond more than they ever liked you. She rested her hand on the doorknob, turned back one last time. He built everything, Adriana, and we all knew it. You were just the only one who refused to see it. The door closed softly behind her. Adriana sat alone in the penthouse, surrounded by the art she'd curated, the furniture she'd chosen, the view she'd always claimed as hers. For the first time, she wondered how many people had been watching her marriage from the outside, seeing things she'd been too arrogant or too proud to acknowledge. Her phone buzzed. A message from her father. Office. Now. We need to talk about damage control. She glanced around the empty penthouse one last time, then grabbed her coat. Adriana arrived at her father's office to find him behind his desk with two men she didn't recognize. One was older, sharp-eyed, his suit the kind that whispered money. The other was younger, holding a leather portfolio. Adriana, this is Gerald Hutchkins, our attorney, and Mark Sterling from Forensic Accounting, Theodora said without any greeting. Forensic Accounting? Adriana repeated. Why do we need... Sit down, Theodore cut her off. She sat. Gerald opened a folder. Mrs. Pfizer, he began, we've been reviewing your personal accounts and uncovered some troubling discrepancies. What discrepancies? Adriana demanded. Mark leaned forward. Over the past 3 years, you've accumulated approximately $2 million in personal debt across 17 credit cards and 3 personal loans. Adriana's stomach plummeted. That's impossible, she said weakly. It's all documented, Mark replied, sliding statements across the desk. Designer purchases, private jet charters, exclusive memberships, all charged to accounts we initially believed were business expenses. They're not. These are personal cards, opened in your name, using the family's credit history as collateral. Theodore's voice was like ice. Were you ever planning to tell me you've been funding your lifestyle on credit? I thought, Adriana started, then faltered. She thought the money would always be there. Thought someone else was watching the numbers. Thought Raymond was handling it. Your husband hasn't been paying these cards, Gerald said flatly. He separated his finances from yours 2 years ago. We found the documentation this morning. He's been covering his own expenses and contributing to shared household costs. But your personal spending? That's been entirely on you. $2 million, Adriana, Theodore said. And now that Raymond has pulled his guarantees, every creditor is calling those debts due immediately, because they were secured against family assets he controlled. The room seemed to tilt around her. How did I not know about this? She whispered. Because you never looked, Mark said, not unkindly. The card sent statements to an email address you never checked. The interest was paid automatically from an account you assumed was family money. It wasn't. It was your money, drawn from a trust Raymond set up for you years ago. That trust is now empty, Gerald finished. He pulled out another document. We also need to discuss the gallery fund, the Cunningham Family Arts Initiative. What about it? Adriana asked, already bracing herself. It's technically insolvent, Gerald said, and has been for the last 18 months. Raymond has been covering the shortfalls with his own capital injections to protect your reputation. Those injections stopped last night. Theodore got up and walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. The gallery's board of directors met this morning, he said quietly. They voted to remove you as director, pending a full financial review. The news will be public by tomorrow. Adriana felt tears burning at the edges of her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. This can't be happening, she whispered. It's already happened, Theodore replied, turning to face her. And we have 48 hours to figure out damage control before the press gets hold of this story. The daughter of Theodore Cunningham, removed from her own charity for financial mismanagement. Do you understand what that does to our reputation? I didn't mismanage anything, Adriana protested. You just what? Theodore's voice finally rose. You just spent money you didn't have. You just assumed someone else would clean up your mess. You just mocked the one man who was holding everything together while you played curator. The silence that followed was suffocating. Finally, Gerald spoke. We need to locate Raymond and negotiate. If he's willing to restore certain authorizations, we may be able to contain this before it becomes catastrophic. He won't, Adriana said softly. I know him. Once he makes a decision, he doesn't reverse it. Theodore looked at his daughter with something between disappointment and reluctant clarity. Then we'd better figure out how to survive without him, he said, because right now, we're drowning. I hadn't seen my daughter Sophia in 2 days. That was deliberate, though not my design. It was Adriana's. She'd been keeping Sophia close, feeding her a version of events where I was the villain who had abandoned the family. But teenagers aren't stupid, and Sophia has always been sharper than most. When she finally called me on Thursday afternoon, her voice was tight. Dad, can we meet? Just us. Of course, I said. Where? The bookstore on Newbury Street, the one we used to go to. 30 minutes later, I walked into Trident Booksellers and found Sophia in the back corner, in the same spot where she used to curl up with a stack of books while I worked on my laptop. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, still in her school uniform like she'd come straight from class. I sat down across from her. Hey, sweetheart. Mom says you're trying to destroy us, she blurted out, skipping any kind of small talk. That you froze all the accounts and we're going to lose everything. She's been crying for 2 days. I took a slow breath. What do you think is happening? I asked. Sophia's jaw tightened. I think you and Mom had a fight and you left. But I don't understand why the bank accounts matter. Why can't you just unfreeze them and we figure this out? Because they're not frozen, Sophia. I leaned forward. I removed my authorizations from accounts I built and managed. Your mom is discovering that a lot of what she thought was hers was actually structured under my name for legal and tax reasons. So you did do this on purpose, she said, a sharp accusation in her tone. Yes, I answered simply. I did. Your mother told me to leave. She said I'd come crawling back in a week when I realized I was nothing without the Cunningham name. So I left, and I took with me what was actually mine, the infrastructure, the authorizations, the systems that kept everything running. Sophia stared at me. That's cold, Dad. It's honest, I corrected gently. Sophia, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be hard to hear. Your mother has been planning to divorce me for 6 months. She was working with attorneys to structure it, so I'd walk away with nothing, claiming I contributed nothing to the family wealth. Her eyes widened. What? Monica told me, I said. Your mom's best friend. She came to me because she knew what your mother was planning wasn't right. At first I didn't want to believe her, but I started paying attention, started documenting things. And 3 months ago, I found the emails between your mother and the law firm. Sophia looked like she was about to cry, but she was fighting it. Why didn't you tell me? Because you're 17, I said quietly. You shouldn't have to choose sides in your parents' marriage. But now that everything is out in the open, now that your mother is painting me as the villain, you deserve to know the truth. Does Grandpa Theodore know? He suspected, I said. He told your mother it was a bad idea. She didn't listen. Sophia was silent for a long moment, absorbing it all. Then what about Caleb? She asked finally. My chest tightened. Caleb, my 23-year-old son from a relationship before I met Adriana. I'd been honest about him from the beginning, but Adriana had never accepted him, never allowed him in our home, never acknowledged him as part of our family. What about him? I asked carefully. Mom said you're probably with him now, that you chose your other family over us. Is that true? I felt anger rise, but I kept my voice even. Caleb is my son, Sophia. He's your half-brother. I've always wanted you two to have a relationship, but your mother wouldn't allow it. She made it clear that if I wanted to be part of your life, Caleb couldn't be part of mine. So I saw him separately, quietly, because I refused to abandon either of my children. Tears finally spilled down Sophia's cheeks. I have a brother, and you never told me. I tried to tell you, sweetheart, more than once. But your mother shut it down every time, and I didn't want to drag you into a war between us. I was wrong. I should have fought harder for you two to know each other. I want to meet him, Sophia said suddenly. I want to meet Caleb. Are you sure? I asked. Yes. If he's my brother, I should know him. And if Mom kept that from me, then maybe she's kept other things too. I took out my phone and typed a message to Caleb. Are you free for dinner tonight? Someone wants to meet you, I added. His reply came almost instantly. Oh, your sister. 3 dots. Then, seriously, Luigi's at 7. I'll be there. I looked at Sophia. He's excited to meet you. He's been waiting 17 years for this. She wiped her eyes. What's he like? He's in grad school, studying architecture, plays guitar, has your sense of humor. You're going to like him. Sophia nodded, then asked the question I'd been dreading. Are you and Mom getting divorced? Yes, I said. I'm sorry, Sophia, but yes, this isn't something we can fix. Because of the money? Because your mother never saw me as a partner, I said quietly. She saw me as a tool, useful to have around, but not worth respecting. And I can't live like that anymore. Sophia reached across the table and took my hand. I don't think you're a villain, Dad, she said. I think you're just tired of being invisible. My throat tightened. I squeezed her hand. Thank you for hearing me out. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. When this is all over, when everything settles, will I still have both my parents, or are you going to disappear? Sweetheart, I'm not going anywhere, I said. Your mother and I are done, but you're my daughter. That never changes. She nodded, visibly relieved. Okay, then let's go meet my brother. Theodore called an emergency board meeting for Monday morning. I wasn't invited, but I knew it was happening because I still had access to the company's calendar system. My access codes hadn't been revoked. I'd built the security infrastructure myself and given my credentials a backdoor years ago as a safeguard, not to spy, at least that's what I told myself, but to protect. At 9 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number. You need to hear this. Attached was a live audio feed from the boardroom. Someone inside was streaming the meeting to me. I plugged in my earbuds and listened. Theodore's voice came through first, strained. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on such short notice. We have a situation that requires immediate board action. We know about the situation, Theodore, said James Payton, a senior board member and Theodore's former business partner. Your son-in-law just dismantled our operational infrastructure like he was defusing a bomb. The real question is, what are we doing about it? We're negotiating, Theodore replied. Negotiating what? Another voice demanded. He holds all the cards, every trust, every account structure, every tax shield. He built it and he controls it. We gave him that power. You gave him that power because I trusted him, Theodore said defensively. You trusted him because he was competent, James shot back. More competent than anyone else in this room, including you. And now we're paying the price for treating him like hired help instead of the partner he actually was. Silence settled over the room. Then Patricia Simmons, the board's financial auditor, spoke up. I've reviewed the structure, she said. It's brilliant, legally airtight. Every authorization, every transfer protocol, every failsafe. They all require Raymond Pfizer's personal approval. There is no override. He designed it that way specifically to prevent exactly what Adriana is trying to do now, wrest control away from the person who built it. So, what you're saying, Theodore said slowly, is that we have no leverage. Not exactly, Patricia replied. We have one piece of leverage, his reputation. He's a professional. If we approach this professionally and offer him fair terms, he might agree to a transition. And if he doesn't? Her voice turned grim. Then Cunningham Capital Management collapses within 90 days. Maybe sooner. The room exploded in overlapping voices. Panic, blame, fear, all tangled together. I listened to them scramble, these people who had sat beside Adriana at galas and charity balls, who smiled at me across conference tables while treating me like background noise. Then Theodore's voice cut through the chaos. There's another option, he said. We remove Adriana from all operational roles. We make it clear to Raymond that she no longer has any authority over family business decisions. We offer him sole operational control, independent of the marriage. You'd cut out your own daughter? James asked, sounding genuinely shocked. My daughter just cost us $200 million in frozen assets and nearly brought down a firm my grandfather built, Theodore replied, his voice hard. Yes, I cut her out if it means survival. I felt something I didn't expect. Not satisfaction, sadness. Theodore was finally seeing what I'd been seeing for years. His daughter wasn't an asset. She was a liability. Patricia spoke again. We need a vote. All in favor of offering Raymond Pfizer full operational control as an independent contractor, separate from family authority? One by one, voices answered, Aye. When the count was done, it was unanimous. Theodore cleared his throat. Then someone needs to reach out to Raymond and make the offer official. I'll do it, James said. He'll take my call. There's always been mutual respect between us. Make it clear, Theodore added, that this isn't charity. This is recognition. He's earned this position. We should have given it to him years ago. The meeting adjourned. I sat alone in my office, earbuds still in, staring at nothing. My phone rang. James Payton. I answered. Hello, James. Raymond, I'm assuming you've been listening, he said. No point lying. Yes. Good. Then you know what we're offering. Full operational control, a board seat, equity, and a compensation package that actually reflects your value. Your marriage to Adriana becomes irrelevant to your position in the company. What about Adriana? I asked. She's being removed from all decision-making roles, James said. She keeps her trust fund and her shares, but no operational authority. The board was unanimous. I'll let that sink in. Her father agreed to this. Her father proposed it, James added. Theodore knows he made a mistake. He chose loyalty to blood over loyalty to competence, and it almost destroyed everything. He's not making that mistake twice. I'll think about it, I said. Don't think too long, James warned. We've got 72 hours before the credit agencies start downgrading us. He hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, feeling the weight of a decision that was going to define everything that came next. 3 days after the board meeting, a package showed up at my office. No return address, just a plain manila envelope with my name typed neatly on the label. Inside was a USB drive and a short handwritten note. You deserve to know the truth. A friend I plugged the drive into my laptop. It contained a professionally formatted PDF compiled over the last 6 months. The title across the top read, Financial and Personal Activity Report. Subject, Adriana Cunningham, Pfizer. Someone had hired a private investigator to follow my wife. I started scrolling. Pages of photographs, bank records, card statements, message logs. With every page, my stomach knotted tighter. Adriana hadn't just been reckless with money. She'd been living a second life I knew nothing about. There she was in the photos, at restaurants I'd never visited, with people I didn't recognize. Lavish lunches billed to cards I'd never seen. Hotel reservations in Boston booked under her maiden name. Then came the text message screenshots pulled from phone records. Conversations with someone saved as D that made my blood go cold. Ray suspects nothing. He's too busy with his spreadsheets to notice I have a life. When are you leaving him? You've been saying that for months. Soon? My attorney says we have to wait until after the fiscal year closes. Better positioning for asset division. I leaned back in my chair, hands shaking. The betrayal itself didn't surprise me anymore, but seeing it laid out like an audit report, time-stamped and itemized, hit in a different way. The investigator had identified D as Derek Sullivan, a gallery owner from New York, divorced, old money. Exactly the kind of man Adriana would orbit. They'd been seeing each other for 8 months, meeting at art events, spending weekends at his place in the Hamptons, while I believed she was at gallery conferences. The report ended with a financial breakdown. Adriana had burned through roughly $340,000 on that relationship alone. Hotels, gifts, flights, dinners, all of it funded by credit cards she'd opened using the family's credit history as collateral. My phone rang. James Payton. Raymond, did you get a package today? He asked, no small talk. You sent this? I asked. I hired the investigator 3 months ago, he said. After that board meeting where you saved us from that nightmare merger, I started paying attention to how Adriana treated you, the way she dismissed you, mocked you. It didn't sit right with me, so I did some digging. Why? I asked. Because you're the best financial mind I've worked with in 40 years, James said, and I've watched Theodore's daughter treat you like disposable staff. I wanted to know if my instincts about her were right. They were, I said quietly, staring at the monitor full of proof of my wife's second life. What do you want to do with this? He asked. That's up to you, James added before I could answer. But if you negotiate with the board, if you come back to Cunningham Capital, you need to do it from a position of absolute strength. That report gives you leverage. Adriana was planning to divorce you and paint you as some gold digger. Now you can prove she was the one bleeding the family dry. This will destroy her reputation, I said. She was prepared to destroy yours, James replied. I'm not telling you to use it. I'm telling you to have it in case she decides to play dirty. When he hung up, I sat alone with the evidence. Part of me wanted to forward the entire report to Theodore and say, "This is your daughter." But another part of me, the part that remembered loving her, that remembered the early years when things were still good, hesitated. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Dad, can I stay with you this week? I can't be around Mom right now. She won't stop crying and blaming everyone but herself." I typed back, "Of course. I'll get the guest room ready." A second message followed. "Can Caleb come for dinner tomorrow? He's funny. I like having a brother." Despite everything, I smiled. "Absolutely. He'll be happy to hear that." I looked back at the report on the screen, then closed the laptop. Whatever Adriana had done, whatever she thought she could still do, I wasn't standing there empty-handed anymore. I had my daughter. I had my son. I had the respect of the board and a future that didn't have to lean on her family's name. The truth was documented and secure, ready if I needed it. But right now, I had a guest room to prepare. Adriana walked into my office unannounced on Thursday afternoon. My assistant tried to stop her, but she pushed past and burst through the door like a storm front. "We need to talk," she demanded. I looked up from my computer. "You should have called first." "I tried. You blocked my number." "I blocked your personal number," I corrected. "Your attorney has my attorney's information. That's how we communicate now." She closed the door and leaned back against it. She looked smaller somehow, thinner, the makeup not quite hiding the exhaustion. "Raymond, please," she said, voice frayed. "Can we just talk like human beings for 5 minutes?" I gestured to the chair across from my desk. 5 minutes. She sat down, clutching her purse like it was keeping her afloat. "I know you're angry," she began. "I know I said things I shouldn't have, but this, whatever you're doing, it's destroying everything." "I'm not doing anything," I replied calmly. "I removed my authorizations from systems I built. That's it." "That's not it, and you know it," she snapped. "My father's company is hemorrhaging money. The board is panicking. My reputation is... Your reputation is ruined because you spent $2 million you didn't have and got yourself removed from the gallery board for financial mismanagement," I said. "That wasn't me. That was you." Color rose in her face. "I made mistakes. I admit that. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through our issues." "Adriana," I cut in, "I know about Derek." She went absolutely still. "I know about the hotels, the weekends in the Hamptons, the $340,000 you spent on him in 8 months," I continued. "I have the bank statements, the photos, the messages, everything." The blood drained from her face. "How did you—" "It doesn't matter how," I said. "What matters is that you were planning to divorce me, take everything, and claim I never contributed a cent. Meanwhile, you were using family money to bankroll an affair and preparing to walk away like you were the injured party." Adriana's hands were shaking now. "Raymond, if that gets out, I'm finished. My father will cut me off. The board will never take me seriously again. Any judge will laugh if I try to argue for support." She stood, voice cracking. "So what? You're going to blackmail me?" "No," I said, standing as well, meeting her eyes. "I'm giving you a choice." I laid it out, steady and clear. "You can accept a fair divorce settlement. We split assets appropriately. We agree to joint custody of Sophia, with no restrictions on my relationship with Caleb. You walk away quietly, and we keep this between us and the lawyers. Or you can decide to fight, drag this through court, weaponize your father's money, try to destroy me. If you choose that, I will make sure every detail of your affair becomes part of the public record." "You wouldn't do that," she whispered. "Try me," I said flatly. "I built everything you mistook for your birthright. I protected you, provided for you, and loved you for 14 years. You mocked me, dismissed me, and tried to erase me. So, yes, Adriana, I absolutely would do that if you force my hand." Tears were spilling freely now. "I never meant for it to go this far," she choked out. I felt trapped, like I was living in a life someone else designed. You were living in a life someone else designed, I said. Mine? Because you never cared how any of it worked. You just enjoyed the benefits and resented the person providing them. She swallowed hard. What about Sophia? She asked it like a last lifeline. What about Sophia? Sophia is staying with me this week, I said. That was her choice. And before you accuse me of turning her against you, she figured it out on her own. She's 17, not stupid. Adriana sank back into the chair, deflated. So I've lost everything, she whispered. My daughter, my reputation, my marriage. You didn't lose them, I said, my voice softer now. You threw them away because you believed you could always trade up. But there isn't anything better, Adriana. There's just different. And usually worse. She wiped at her eyes, mascara smearing. What happens now? Now, I said, you talk to your attorney. You accept the settlement Catherine is drafting. You co-parent Sophia with dignity and respect, and you rebuild your life without me in it. And if I don't, then we go to war, I replied. And I promise you, you will lose. I don't want that. Despite everything, I don't want to humiliate you in public, but I will protect myself and my children. That is non-negotiable. Adriana stood slowly, clutching her purse. At the door, she paused. I'm sorry, Raymond, she said quietly. For whatever it's worth, I really am sorry. I believe you, I answered. But sorry doesn't undo the damage. It just means you finally understand what you did. She left without another word. I watched from my window as she walked to her car, shoulders slumped, looking smaller than when she'd arrived. My phone buzzed, a text from Theodore. Can we meet? I want to make you an offer you can't refuse. I allowed myself a small smile and typed back, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Your office. The war was ending. Now came the rebuilding. Mediation took place in a neutral conference room downtown. No marble, no family portraits, just beige walls, a long table, and too many legal pads. Lawyers on both sides, a professional mediator, Dr. Ellen Cortez, presiding. Adriana sat across from me, her attorney, Roger, at her side. Both looked ready for a fight. Let's begin, Dr. Cortez said. Mr. Pfizer, your attorney has submitted settlement terms. Would you like her to summarize? Catherine nodded. My client proposes a clean division, she said. Mrs. Pfizer keeps her trust fund, currently intact at approximately $8 million. She retains the art collection she personally curated, valued at around $2 million. Mr. Pfizer retains his equity stake in Cunningham Capital, his personal accounts, and his separate business interests. That's completely unacceptable, Roger snapped. Mrs. Pfizer contributed 14 years to this marriage. Mrs. Pfizer contributed 14 years of spending, Catherine replied coolly. We have documentation showing she accumulated $2 million in personal debt and spent an additional $340,000 on an extramarital affair. My client financed her lifestyle while she actively planned to divorce him and take everything. Adriana went ghost white. Roger leaned toward her, whispering urgently. We also propose, Catherine continued, joint custody of Sophia, with no restrictions on Mr. Pfizer's relationship with his son, Caleb. Mrs. Pfizer has attempted to exclude Caleb from family life for years. That stops now. Sophia should decide where she wants to live, I added, not us. She's 17 and more than capable of choosing. Dr. Cortez turned to Adriana. Mrs. Pfizer, do you want to respond? Her voice was barely audible. What about the penthouse? The penthouse is owned by a trust I manage, I said. You can stay there for 6 months while you find another place to live. After that, it will be sold or reassigned. 6 months? She repeated, panicked. That's generous, I replied calmly, considering you told me to leave with nothing. Roger cleared his throat. My client would like to address the affair allegations privately. No, I said. Everything is discussed here, on the record. Or it goes to court and becomes public record. Your choice. Adriana closed her eyes. How did you find out about Derek? Someone who cared enough to show me the truth, I said, unlike the people you thought were your friends. Does my father know? She asked. Not yet, I said. But he will, if we don't settle today. She looked at Roger, then back at me. What do you want from me, Raymond? I want you to take responsibility, I said. Sign the papers. Let Sophia make her own choices. And let me move on without you trying to burn everything down out of spite. And if I do that, she asked quietly, you won't tell my father about Derek? If you settle fairly, what you did stays between us and these four walls, I said. I'm not interested in revenge, Adriana. I just want out. She sat in silence for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, I'll sign. Roger started to object, but she lifted a hand to stop him. No, he's right, she said. I made this mess. I'll live with the consequences. 2 hours later, the papers were signed. Adriana left without meeting my eyes. Catherine closed her briefcase, satisfied. That went better than expected, she said. She knows she's beaten, I replied. And somewhere under all that entitlement, she knows she earned it. I walked out into the Boston evening feeling lighter. 14 years reduced to signatures on paper. No courtroom fireworks, no screaming matches. Just the quiet conclusion of something that had been dying for a long time. My phone buzzed. Sophia, is it done? It's done, I wrote. Good. Caleb and I are making dinner at your place. Get here fast. I smiled and headed home. 8 months later, I stood in the executive boardroom of Cunningham Capital Management as the newly appointed chief operating officer. Theodore still occupied the head of the table, but everyone in that room knew where the real authority sat now. Ladies and gentlemen, Theodore began, I'm pleased to report that our Q3 numbers are 18% above projections. Under Raymond's restructuring, we are on track for the strongest fiscal year in company history. Applause echoed around the table. I nodded in acknowledgement, but didn't bask in it. This wasn't about proving I'd been right. It was about making sure what we'd built could stand on its own. After the meeting, James Payton pulled me aside. There's someone here to see you, he said. Says it's important. I walked into my new corner office, twice the size of my old one, and found a woman standing by the window. Mid-30s, professional suit, calm confidence. Mr. Pfizer, she said with a warm smile. I'm Dr. Caroline Reed, financial analyst. I recently moved to Boston. How can I help you, Dr. Reed? I asked. Actually, she said, I was hoping we could talk about the philanthropic fund you founded, the one for children's hospitals. I'd set that fund up 6 months earlier, quietly, using my own money. For years, I'd been donating anonymously through Cunningham Capital, but I finally wanted to formalize it, transparent, audited, real. What about it? I asked. I'd like to contribute, she said, and I'd like to help you expand it. I've reviewed your structure. It's impressive. Most people talk about giving back. You actually designed a system that does it. We talked for an hour. She was sharp, funny, grounded. When she left, she handed me her card. If you ever want to grab coffee and talk about something other than money, she said, I'd like that. I glanced at the card, then at her. I'd like that too, I said. That evening I had dinner with Sophia and Caleb at my apartment, the one I'd bought in my own name, furnished simply. No marble floors, no ostentatious art. Just a place that felt like mine. Dad, Sophia said, grinning, Caleb got into the architecture program at MIT. That's incredible, I said, genuinely thrilled. Congratulations. Thanks, Caleb replied. And I wanted you to know, I'm putting Pfizer on all my applications now. I'm done hiding it. My throat tightened. You never had to hide it, I said. I know, he replied. But I wanted to. Now I want people to know whose son I am. Sophia lifted her glass of soda. To family, she said. The real kind. We clinked glasses. Later, after they left, I stood on my balcony overlooking the Charles River. Somewhere in that city, Adriana was rebuilding. Word was she'd moved to New York to be closer to Derek and was trying to start over. I hoped, honestly, that she found whatever she'd been chasing. My phone buzzed, a text from Caroline. Coffee. Saturday? There's a place in Cambridge I think you'd like. I typed back, Saturday works. Looking forward to it. I watched the lights dance on the water and thought about the night I laid my keys on that marble counter and walked away from a life that was never really mine. In the end, nothing had been permanent, except the things I'd built with my own hands, my own name. The foundation held. On it, I was finally building something new, something honest, something mine.